Hi everybody, how y'all doing? I'm gonna see if this is actually going to record because it's computer's acting very funny right now. So I have to see. It's maybe when I have to like tape a bunch of times because of course I never edit anything. I'm one take Charlie and that's it. So this video is a long time coming. It's probably for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people generally, and some other people incidentally, and anybody else who wants to listen. But it might be one that I will put on unlisted, just because I don't know how long my courage is going to last to keep it open. And it's one of the things that I like about this channel, that I just kind of keep it really low-key and private. Most people don't know I have this channel, so you know, they know me for the other two, so I prefer to keep it that way. So I can, say more personal things on this one, tackle more issues. So, the topics are sort of 3 or 4 all at the same time. One has to do with abuse, one has to do with PTSD, Stockholm Syndrome, God or not God, so looking at it from 2 different directions. And I have some of this written down and some of it I don't, so I might have to refer back to some things that I was jotting notes and writing letters, so I'll tell you when I'm doing that, so there's hopefully not a lag in conversation. So in terms of abuse, I've never on any of my channels said anything about my background in regards to that. I have talked about having PTSD, but I never said what it was from or anything. And I don't think that, I would ever talk about it to a real degree. I mean, I've never even talked about it with my husband, and I've been with him over 23 years. So, and even counselors that I go to, there's just certain things won't say, can't say, don't say. Think what you want about that. I think I don't trust the people who say things like, oh, I was happy, I was fill in the blank, abused, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There was even, and Mr. Richard Winkle even did a video, talking about that as a risk, and that he'd rather have that as a risk in the world for this and so reason. And I gotta say, it's infuriating to hear it, whether the person has endured that or not, just because there's so much pain connected to it. I mean, Oprah's very big for that, saying, I'm so glad this, that, for her background, which, she was molested and then lost her baby, and all this kind of thing. And I can't fathom that, you can equate that with a day at a picnic. And I am very cautious and untrusting of people who present things in that way and claim that that's a spiritual thing. I think that that's an unrealistic and unbalanced thing, and it would be if I expressed that way. I'm not knocking anybody's spiritual idea of, what they've gone through or what have you, but applying ideas to something that has no reason to it. And I say no reason because there really is no reason. You can't say it was this or that. I mean, I think that people fall on excuses and blame to signify, what happened in some particular situation or what have you. But I think that keeps a person in that blame and shame cycle when they apply reasons, be they gruesome or supposedly spiritual. I think both are equally dangerous, and I think they're both equally false. And I watch people who do it. My judgment, my impression is that it grants a sense of specialness either to that event or to that person or what have you, that a person is special because of what they are, not what they lived through. I don't think, ultimately, because anything can happen to anybody and they can react in any manner of ways. We only hear the gruesome tales. The people who had a hard life and then, hurt other people, right? So the rare cases, of course, there are books, and I've read some of them, like A Boy Called It is one of the books that's like that, where, he endured so much abuse and he came out the other side of his childhood, growing into an adult, and just shines. So you can't say that everybody's going to have the same reaction to the same things, right? So when I think about that in terms of the question that comes up very frequently, and it's either posed in terms of, I don't believe in heaven or hell because fill in the blank, or the other one is, I don't believe in God because, and usually the idea is because if, if I, as a human parent, were to treat my child in the way, similar fashion, that the supposed God and in the Bible is, treating us, we'd be put up on, child abuse charges, endangerment, murder, all these kinds of things. And they're not interchangeable. There is no way that you can say that a finite being can possibly, a finite earthly being, and I'm just saying finite as far as our bodies, right, can be compared to an infinite, universal, creative force. So if you want to call that deity. If you don't want to include deity in that, I still don't think it's applicable, because let's say nature gave you the gift of a child, for instance, but by virtue of nature, egg gets fertilized, baby's there. Okay. That's still, there is still a choice being made by the parent after the fact to live up to the level of that choice to have the child or adopt the child or what have you. And I could use this argument in terms of people who are spanked, which I hate that euphemism. People who strike their children, and then those children grow up and they will defend their parents for that choice. That, to me, is 100% Stockholm Syndrome. And part of that has to do with, I think, what we as a species do to keep ourselves alive. If you don't have an inherent visceral reaction of loving your parent, who is your physical protector, you would die tribe-wise. So to propagate the species, that's in what we do to keep us alive. And so much so that when a parent does do something that's even detrimental, be it all the way from, putting the life in danger or just emotionally traumatizing, there still is that human inclination to not even first defend, but forgive, because you can't defend someone unless on some certain level that they have been forgiven. And I think some of that is, neurologically put forth. I think that, it's that cognitive dissonance thing. If I think that my mother is a horrible person because she spanked me, then, this cascade of uncomfortable comes, right? So then usually the argument or the supposition comes to, because people have to endure, horrific experiences, and that, there's no God man in the sky, uber superhuman, Superman, John Wayne style Jesus or something that comes down and swoops you away. And maybe because, we all grow up hearing those myths, like just like Greek myths and things, where we're coming down, from Olympus, or if it's a Roman myth or whatever, Egyptian myth, that's always done for or against the person's desire or supposed betterment, or for their detriment. Whereas I think that that's not the case with Christianity, in that if you would look upon that as a miracle, let's say, for instance, then a miracle isn't being done for that individual personally. Things might work out to their preferred favor, but that's, I don't think, why any hand of God action was made. And I think it's very dangerous to think so, because then that gets into God preferring individuals, which that's a messed up idea too. And I think part of that's shown in the Binding of Isaac, as far as it was all on what had just happened with my computer. It was all on Abraham, and then told not to. So it still wasn't God himself coming down and untying the knots. It still was Abraham himself doing that. Okay. So the other part of it has to do with, I think I need to get my notes. Where did they go? Got too many, and even my husband complains to me. I always put up too many tabs. Notorious, I can't find anything. Okay, here we go. Let me see. Okay. You know how there's that saying, as far as people will talk about, that, forgiveness for another person isn't because you're in agreement with them, or what they did was acceptable or correct, or really very much anything having actually to do with that other person, but a matter of deciding that you don't want to punish yourself with your own anger, giving them power from the past into your present and then future. It's like, it's considered like stealing joy. Like worrying about yesterday takes away tomorrow and today. So, and really, what can ever be changed by thinking about it, fretting it, worrying, right? Nothing can change the past. You can only, change your opinion or the way you conduct yourself in the future. So I think as children, a lot of times children are taught to blame and shame, and to get into black and white thinking. Okay. And I think that children are often taught that, you know, because parent hears children scuffling in the other room, parent comes in and says, "Who did this?" Assigning blame. "They did." "No, they did." Right. Okay. So nobody wants to take the blame. "Fine, you both are punished." And then, you know, what happens is that becomes the paradigm within which when something negative or stressful happens, then that's what the child will do because that's what they've learned. Whereas there are other ways to peacefully teach children, to include others, to be understanding towards others, to be forgiving towards others, to be patient, to be thoughtful, to be considerate. And mind you, those are for their own sake. That can be complete. That is and completely apart from whether you believe in God or not. Those are part of being human. If you want to attribute those ideas to God, you can, but they're certainly independent of it. So it's applicable to everybody. Okay, you don't have to be saved and believe in Jesus or whatever, call it. Nothing like that. So when that becomes the paradigm for how you deal with negative experiences, then, you know, following that line of logic, to hold on to something in the past would be comprised of that, assigning the blame, you know, this kind of thing. Whereas if you have compassion for the other person, and I say this all the time, hurt people hurt other people, you can kind of see maybe where they were having a reason why they would react that way, as they were taught that and didn't get a chance to consider before they acted again, let's say, for instance. Pardon. Or another side of it is out of honor to those people, let's say, for instance, if they're family members particularly, doesn't matter whether they're living or dead, in their honor, to live without holding those grudges is a far better place to be than, and I hear this all the time, because of or in spite of. Parents will take that phrase and say, "I hope that even rather because of what I have done, you will flourish because of or in spite of me. I don't care that, you know, that you would still, you know, come out shining." And I think that setting that up is again, you know, putting the child in a situation where they have to be angry because there's only one choice. Oh, there's only one choice between those two, because of or in spite of, rather than having that choice be for the sake of itself, being compassionate for the sake of compassion, being forgiving for forgiveness' sake, not on behalf of some deity or, you know, some idea of that at all. Like I say, that's independent of all of that. If you choose to apply that to it, it may or may not even be applicable. I don't know. Some people do. And there are times where I do weave that into it in my own mind, you know what I'm saying? Or I don't. And either way, it still comes out in a far better place because it doesn't set me in the mood of, or rather in the position of, I must be on the defense. Because if I've made one of those because of or in spite of choices, that's where I am. I'm already set up to fight rather than move on, you know. Yeah. So I hope I was able to clearly get any of that across. Remember, these are my own thoughts and musings. I don't necessarily speak on behalf of anyone or any group or anything. I'm not saying anything that what I'm saying is right or wrong. If it benefits you positively or negatively, I hope that you'll use it in a positive way. You know, if I've hurt you by anything I said, I do apologize. Please forgive me, because it's not my intention. So I hope I have the courage to upload this, and It might not even because it's so long. I don't know how many minutes I have on this channel. Until later, thank you so much for listening. I wish you all bright blessings of peace on your heart.